Hi there, Dr. Christel chiming in. Today on Ask Dr. Deb, we're going to talk about why plus size clothes are ugly. Have you ever been shopping and think to yourself, how in the world did this garment make it to the sales floor? It was probably ugly, scratchy, and in a dimly lit plus size section, and was probably overpriced. When I see ugly clothes for fat women, it's infuriating and honestly insulting. From the designs to the merchandising to the pricing and to the treatment of women in the store. Larger women have really been shafted in the fashion world. Let me tell you how that garment got there. First of all, everyone has implicit or unconscious biases that drive human behavior. For example, if I don't like the color orange, but I'm forced to do a design with it, it's probably not going to be my best design. These unconscious or sometimes even conscious, because we know of companies that will flat out say, we won't do plus size design, but that absolutely drives the fashion industry. Unconscious bias is inside everyone. Research shows that both men and women of all races and sizes harbor unconscious biases towards gender, race, and body size. So yes, sexism, sizeism, and racism still exist. Bad news, chances are, if you're a fashion designer, you're probably thin and probably white. Why would I assume that most people in the fashion industry are thin? Because they are, and also white. Research shows that thin people are hired and preferred over fat people in nearly every industry. So if you think about that, every stage of the way, from design to the color, to the pattern selection, to merchandising, to marketing, to sales, to customer service, all of these people are hired and they have their own lens, the way that they view the world, and that's viewed through a thin person. So when they're asked to make decisions on behalf of a larger person, it might not be exactly what they want. So chances are they're probably weight bias, meaning that they don't like fat people. And if you don't like fat people, you're probably not going to do your best work if you're working on their behalf. So the dream is to have an unbiased, larger woman designing and creating clothing for the people that are actually going to buy them. Well, I have more bad news. Guess who's making the majority of final decisions in the fashion industry? Men. Men are approving the overall marketing and designs, and chances are they might be weight biased and they might be sexist. Not all men are sexist or weight biased, but there is a little bit of a disconnect when your target market is larger plus size women. Their lived experience is going to be very different from a thin white male's experience. So that's why we want to talk about this. The majority of key decision makers in the fashion industry are men. And while there's nothing wrong with that, I do think that the key decision makers should be very sensitive to their market. And I don't think that this applies to just gender. It applies to sexuality and race. But we have to remember that even though someone isn't exactly like us and hasn't experienced the exact same situations, it doesn't mean that they haven't felt the same feelings and that they can't have empathy for someone. And the way to get there is to explore our unconscious beliefs and our biases, and in that way we can develop empathy for one another. Since the key decision makers are men, they're mostly going to think of men. What would they think is appealing? And I don't think it's their fault, because without a conscious effort, we're all this way. Study after study shows that this is how implicit biases operate. It's not an intentional exclusion, but rather a benign, oh, I just haven't even thought about him or her then, because it doesn't personally relate to that person. But the bad part is that women and minorities are often being overlooked. A lot of our cultural efforts right now are surrounded in helping people become aware of their unconscious biases. Whether it's sexism, racism, ageism, and weightism, which is what we're here to do. And I'm not here to tell you that you're a bad person. I'm here to help you kind of, level up your consciousness and your thoughts and your attitudes about people and how those unconscious biases manifest themselves into very real, very ugly, overpriced clothing. With all of this systemic and unconscious bias in operation, it's no wonder plus size clothing for fat women is horrendous. Ashley, what are your thoughts?
Shopping in the plus size section is awful, because the patterns are always big florals or like weird combinations of patterns. Everything is in a tent style. Everything's always sold out. If I go on a website and I'm like, oh, that, I love that, it's not in my size. And I'm barely plus size. I'm like right on the cusp.
The people that are making these decisions behind the scenes don't really know you.
No, they don't. They don't really want to.
Right. And so how can you design clothes for someone when, one, you don't know your customer and you don't want to know your customer. Well, and that's what the unconsciousness leads to actual behavior, which is these unconscious assumptions like, oh, they must want to camouflage their whole body, so let's take this print and this floral, and then no one will notice how fat they are.
Right.
Well, I think the worst assumption is that if you're fat, you must, first of all, hate your body.
Right.
And second of all, you must want to cover it up.
Yeah.
False and false. Spoken from the mouth of a babe herself. Have you ever found a really ugly plus size item? We'd love for you to share it with us. Share pictures down below, share the video, be sure to like it, subscribe to our channel.
The only way to make plus size clothing better is to level up.
So, share this video, let's raise our consciousness, and as always, we'll catch you on the flippity flip. I like that expression.
Get on our level.
It's an open invitation. I don't hate that idea. Can I breathe now? So, she likes me. They really like me.
What? Oh, there's. My voice just cracked.
You are beautiful, no matter what I say.